cold was everywhere. It crawled under her skin. It made her bones feel like ice. Kira pressed her small body against the broken cargo crate and tried to stop shaking. But the shaking would not stop. She was alone. Kira was only 12 cycles old. She was an Elvari, a species known across the galaxy for their pale blue skin and for silver eyes. The Elvari were traders. They traveled from planet to planet buying and selling goods. They were practical. They were logical. They did not waste time on feelings, and they did not waste resources on the broken. 3 days ago, her trade caravan had left her behind on this frozen mining colony called Veltraznin. They had not said goodbye. They had not looked back. Her uncle, the caravan leader, had simply told the others to pack up and go. Kira had watched the ships fly away until they became tiny dots in the gray sky. She understood why they left her. Her left arm was useless now. A mining machine had crushed it 2 weeks ago. The bones were shattered. The flesh was torn. An infection had started to spread, turning the skin around her wound from blue to an ugly purple color. In Elvari culture, she was now defective. A broken tool. Something to throw away. Kira looked at her damaged arm and felt tears forming in her silver eyes. She blinked them away quickly. Crying was also a waste of resources. Her people had taught her that since she was very small. The wind howled through the empty streets of the colony. Most of the buildings here were old and falling apart. The mining company had abandoned this section of Veltraznin years ago. Only criminals, refugees, forgotten people lived here now. Kira had found a small space between 2 cargo crates behind an old supply shop. It was not warm, but it blocked some of the wind. She had made a nest from torn plastic sheets and old cloth. It was not much, but it was all she had. Her stomach made a loud sound. She was so hungry. For 3 days, she had survived on scraps she found in garbage piles and ice she melted in her mouth. Yesterday, she had found half a food bar that someone had thrown away. It was the best thing she had eaten since being abandoned, but there was no food today. And her arm was getting worse. The purple color was spreading. Sometimes she felt hot even though the air was freezing cold. She knew what this meant. The infection was killing her slowly. Kira closed all 4 of her eyes and tried to sleep. Maybe if she slept, she would not feel the hunger. Maybe if she slept, she would not feel the pain in her arm. Maybe if she slept, she would not feel so alone. But sleep did not come. Instead, she heard voices. Strange voices speaking in rough, heavy sounds she did not recognize. Kira opened her eyes, slowly, and peeked through a crack between the cargo crates. Her heart stopped. Humans, 2 of them, were walking through the market district about 30 steps away from her hiding spot. They were tall and moved with a strange confidence that made other aliens move out of their way quickly. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans. They came from a terrible planet called Earth. It was a death world, full of monsters and disasters. The ground shook and split open. The sky threw down fire and water. The animals had claws and teeth and poison. Everything on that planet wanted to kill everything else, and humans had survived it all. Kira had heard the story since she was a baby. Humans were persistence hunters. They did not run fast like other predators. Instead, they followed their prey for hours and hours until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They never stopped. They never gave up. They just kept coming. They could heal from wounds that would kill other species. They could survive extreme heat and extreme cold. They ate plants and animals and sometimes even chemicals that would be poison to anyone else. They drank bitter liquids for pleasure. They set things on fire and breathed in the smoke on purpose. And strangest of all, they formed bonds with other predators. They kept dangerous beasts in their homes and called them friends. They treated monsters like family. Kira watched the 2 humans with growing fear. One was a man with wide shoulders and thick arms. He looked like he could break rocks with his bare hands. The other was a woman with dark hair cut short and eyes that seemed to see everything. They both wore simple dark clothes with patches that showed the name of their ship. The woman stopped walking suddenly. Her head turned. Her eyes scanned the area slowly. Then her gaze landed directly on the crack where Kira was hiding. Kira's whole body went stiff. She could not breathe. She could not move. Every part of her screamed to run. But her legs would not work. The human woman had seen her. Kira waited for the woman to shout. She waited for the humans to chase her like hunters chasing prey. She had heard that once humans decided to catch something, they never failed. They would follow her to the ends of the galaxy if they wanted to. But the woman did not shout. She did not run toward Kira. She did not do anything that Kira expected. Instead, the woman touched the man's arm and pointed toward Kira's hiding spot. They spoke to each other in their strange, rough language. The man looked and nodded. Then they did something very strange. They walked toward her slowly. Not running. Not hunting. Just walking. And when they got close, the woman did something Kira did not understand at all. She crouched down low, making herself small, and placed a silver package on the frozen ground. Then she stepped back and waited. Kira stared at the package. She could smell it now. Food, real food, but it had to be a trap. Why would a human give food to a stranger? Why would a predator share its meal? The woman spoke. Her words were broken and clumsy, but Kira understood them. It is okay, the woman said. We will not hurt you. Kira did not believe her. But her stomach was empty. Her body was weak. And she was going to die soon anyway. So she reached out with her one good hand, took the food. She expected the humans to grab her. They did not. She expected them to laugh at her. They did not. They simply watched her with strange expressions on their flat faces. Kira did not know how to read human emotions, but if she had to guess, she would say they looked sad. Why would predators look sad for her? The man reached into his bag and pulled out something shiny. A thermal blanket. He set it down next to where the food had been. Then, without another word, both humans turned and walked away. Kira sat in the cold for a long time, holding the food in one hand and staring at the blanket. Her mind was spinning with confusion. Nothing made sense anymore. She had been told her whole life that humans were monsters, dangerous, terrifying. Nobody had ever told her that monsters could be kind. The food was the best thing Kira had ever tasted. It was some kind of thick paste mixed with dried fruit and nuts. She ate it slowly, making each bite last as long as possible. Her empty stomach cried with joy as real nutrition entered her body for the first time in days. The thermal blanket was warm. So wonderfully warm. It was made of thin silver material that trapped her body heat inside. Kira wrapped it around herself and felt her shaking slowly stop. But even with a full stomach and a warm blanket, she could not stop thinking about the humans. Why had they helped her? Among the Alvari, everything was a trade. You gave something to get something. No one did anything for free. That was the rule of the universe. That was how things worked. But the humans had given her food and warmth and asked for nothing in return. They had not even stayed to receive thanks. They had just walked away. It made no sense. Kira slept that night. Real sleep, not the light and fearful rest she had been getting. The blanket kept her warm, and her stomach was not screaming at her anymore. She dreamed of her mother, who had died when Kira was only 5 cycles old. In the dream, her mother was smiling. When she woke up, the 2 humans were back. Kira scrambled backward in her hiding spot. Pressing herself against the cold metal of the cargo crate, her hearts pounded in her chest. They had come back. Of course they had come back. They were hunters. They had been waiting for her to let her guard down, but they did not attack. They did not even come very close. The woman crouched down again, just like before. She was about 10 steps away from Kira's hiding spot. Close enough to see clearly, far enough to not feel like a threat. "Hello," the woman said in her broken galactic common. "My name is Yuna. This is Tay." She pointed at herself, then at the big man beside her. Kira said nothing. She just stared at them with all 4 of her silver eyes. Yuna smiled. It was a strange expression. Humans showed their teeth when they were happy. For most species in the galaxy, showing teeth was a sign of aggression. But Kira had learned that humans were different. Their smiles meant something good, at least she hoped so. We saw you were hurt, Yuna continued. She pointed at her own arm, then at Kira. Your arm? It is bad, yes? Infected. Kira looked at her damaged arm. The purple color had spread more during the night. Dark lines were starting to crawl up toward her shoulder. It looked terrible. It felt worse. She nodded slowly. Yuna reached into her bag and pulled out a small white box. She opened it to show Kira what was inside. Medical supplies, bandages, small bottles of medicine, tools that doctors used. I am a healer, Yuna said. On our ship, I fix people who are hurt. I can help you. If you want, Kira's mind was racing. A healer. The human woman was a healer. She was offering to treat Kira's arm, but why? Why would she waste medicine on a broken Elvari girl? Medicine was expensive. Time was valuable. Kira had nothing to offer in return. Why? Kira asked. Her voice came out small and rough. She had not spoken in days. Yuna looked at her with soft eyes. Because you are hurt. Because you are alone. Because we can help. But I have nothing to give you. The big man Tay made a rumbling sound in his chest. Kira later learned this was how humans laughed. He spoke in his heavy voice. You do not need to give us anything. That is not how this works. Kira did not understand. Then how does it work? Yuna and Tay looked at each other. Something passed between them. Some kind of silent communication that Kira could not read. On Earth, Yuna said slowly, we help people because they need help. That is all. No trade. No payment. Just help. Kira stared at them for a long moment. Everything she knew about the universe told her this was a lie. There had to be a trick. There had to be a hidden reason. No species was this generous for no purpose, but the infection in her arm was getting worse. She could feel it burning under her skin. If she did not get treatment soon, she would die. Did it matter if they wanted something from her? She was going to die anyway. At least this way, there was a chance. Okay, she whispered. You can help. Yuna smiled again. That strange, teeth-showing expression that somehow looked warm instead of scary. Good. Very good. Can you walk? Kira tried to stand. Her legs were weak from hunger and cold, but she managed to get up. The thermal blanket fell from her shoulders. Bring the blanket, Tay said. It is yours now. Kira picked it up with her good hand. She followed the humans slowly, staying several steps behind them. She was still not sure this was real. She was still not sure she was not walking into a trap. But the alternative was dying alone in the cold. And if she was going to die anyway, she would rather die trying to live. The walk to the human ship took about 15 minutes. Kira had to stop several times to rest. Each time, the humans waited for her patiently. They did not rush her. They did not look angry. They just waited. Other aliens watched them pass through the colony streets. A group of Telvari merchants whispered to each other and pointed. A Corvin worker stopped unloading boxes to stare. Everyone was looking at the two humans walking slowly with a small Elvari girl behind them. Kira knew what they were thinking. They were wondering why the dangerous Deathworlders were bothering with a broken child. They were probably expecting the humans to eat her, or sell her, or do something terrible, but the humans just kept walking calmly. Checking over their shoulders sometimes to make sure Kira was still following. When they reached the ship, Kira stopped and stared. It was big. Much bigger than the small trading vessels her caravan used. The name on the side was written in human letters she could not read. Juna told her it was called the Horizon's Edge. The cargo ramp was open. Warm air flowed out from inside the ship. Kira could smell food cooking somewhere. Her stomach made another loud sound. Come, Yuna said gently. Let us fix your arm first. Then food. Kira took a deep breath. She was about to walk into a human ship. A vessel full of Deathworld predators. Every instinct in her body told her to run, but her feet moved forward anyway. The inside of the ship was surprisingly clean and organized. Lights glowed warm yellow from the ceiling. The floors were solid metal that hummed slightly beneath her feet. Doors lined the hallway, each one leading to a different room. Yuna led her to a small room full of medical equipment. There was a bed in the center with white sheets. Shelves on the walls held bottles and tools and bandages. "Sit here," Yuna said, patting the bed. "Let me look at your arm." Kira climbed onto the bed and held out her damaged arm. Now that she was in the light, she could see how bad it really was. The flesh was swollen and hot. The purple color had spread past her elbow. The dark lines were reaching toward her shoulder like claws. Yuna made a hissing sound through her teeth. "This is bad. It's very bad. A few more days and—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. "Can you fix it?" Kira asked quietly. Yuna looked at her with serious eyes. "I will try. I will try very hard. But it will hurt. The medicine I have to use will burn the infection away. Do you understand?" Kira nodded. She understood pain. She had been living in pain for weeks. "Okay," she said. "Do it." Yuna worked for almost an hour. She cleaned the wound. She cut away dead flesh. She poured medicine that burned like fire into the infected areas. Kira screamed. She cried. She begged for it to stop, but through it all, Tay sat beside her and held her good hand. He did not say anything. He just held on and let her squeeze his fingers as hard as she needed. When it was finally over, Yuna wrapped fresh bandages around Kira's arm and gave her a small pill to swallow. "This will help with pain," she said, "and help fight infection from inside. You will sleep now. When you wake up, you will feel better." Kira's eyes were already closing. The pill was working fast. Everything felt soft and far away. The last thing she saw before falling asleep was Yuna pulling a blanket over her. The human woman's hand touched Kira's forehead gently, checking for fever, maybe, or maybe just being kind. Kira did not know which one, but for the first time since her mother died, she felt safe. Kira woke up in a warm bed for the first time in her life. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. The ceiling above her was unfamiliar. The soft humming of engines vibrated through the walls. The air smelled like metal and something sweet she could not identify. Then it all came back. The humans. The medical treatment. She looked at her arm. Fresh white bandages covered the wound, but the burning pain was almost gone. The purple color had stopped spreading. Whatever Yuna had done, it was working. Kira sat up slowly and looked around the small medical room. Sunlight from some artificial source filled the space with golden warmth. A glass of water and a small plate of food sat on a table beside her bed. She drank the water first. It was clean and cool and wonderful. Then she looked at the food. Some kind of round bread filled with meat and vegetables. She picked it up carefully and took a small bite. It was delicious. She was halfway through eating when the door opened. A man she had not seen before walked in. He was older than Yuna and Tay, with gray streaks in his black hair and deep lines on his face. His eyes were dark and serious. He looked tired, like he carried heavy weights on his shoulders. He stopped when he saw her awake and eating. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Kira froze with the food halfway to her mouth. This man had a different energy than Yuna and Tay. He looked harder. More dangerous? Oh. "So," the man said in a rough voice. "You are awake." Kira nodded slowly. The man crossed his arms over his chest. "I am Captain Do-Yeon. This is my ship. Yuna tells me she brought you aboard without asking me first." Kira's heart sank. Of course, she should have known this was too good to be true. The captain was angry. He did not want her here. He would throw her back into the cold. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I did not mean to cause trouble. I will leave." She started to push the blanket away, but Captain Do-Yeon held up his hand. "I did not say you have to leave." Kira stopped. She looked up at him with confused eyes. The captain sighed heavily. He walked across the room and sat down in a chair near her bed. Up close, Kira could see the scars on his hands and the weight in his eyes. This was a man who had seen many hard things in his life. "We are a cargo ship," he said. "We carry goods from place to place. We are not an orphanage. We are not a rescue mission. I have a crew to pay and a ship to maintain and jobs to complete." Kira nodded. She understood. Resources were limited. Everyone had to earn their place. That was how the universe worked. But Captain Do-Yan continued, I also have rules. And one of my rules is that we do not leave children to die in the cold. Even alien children. He looked at her damaged arm. Yuna says the infection was very bad. A few more days and it would have killed you. She also says the arm cannot be saved. The damage is too great. The best she can do is stop the infection and remove the dead parts. Kira looked at her arm. She already knew it was ruined. She had accepted that days ago. I understand, she said quietly. Captain Do-Yan studied her face. You understand? You are not sad? Not angry? My people left me because I am broken, Kira said. I have had time to accept this. Something changed in the captain's eyes. Kira could not read it. Humans had such strange faces with so many small expressions. You are not broken, he said firmly. You are injured. There is a difference. Before Kira could respond, the door opened again. This time, 3 people walked in together. Yuna was first smiling when she saw Kira awake. Behind her came Tae, the big man from before, and behind him was someone new. A young man with messy hair and grease stains on his clothes. She is awake, the young man said happily. Good, good. I was worried. Yuna said the infection was very serious. Kira, Yuna said, this is Minho. He is our engineer. He fixes the ship when things break. Minho waved at her with a cheerful grin. Hello, little one. Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge. His energy was so different from the captain's. Minho seemed to bounce with excitement like he could not sit still. Kira found herself almost smiling back. And you have met Tae, Yuna continued. He handles our cargo. Very strong. Very gentle. Tae nodded at her. How is the pain? Better, Kira said. Much better. Thank you. There is one more crew member, Yuna said. You will meet Hannah later. She is our pilot. She is sleeping now because she flew all night to get us here. Captain Do-Yan stood up from his chair. For now, you will stay in the medical bay while Yuna treats your arm. After that, we will figure out what to do with you. Kira's heart squeezed with fear. Will you send me back to the colony? The captain looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. We will see. First, you get healthy. Then we talk. He left the room without another word. Minho whistled softly. Do not worry about the captain. He acts tough, but he is soft inside. Like a fruit with a hard shell. Tae laughed his rumbling laugh. Do not let him hear you say that. The days passed slowly at first, then faster as Kira began to heal. Yuna came every morning and evening to check her arm and change her bandages. The infection was gone now, but the damage was permanent. Yuna had to remove parts of Kira's arm that were too destroyed to save. What remained was wrapped in white cloth, but Kira knew it would never work again. Still, she was alive. That was more than she had expected. As she got stronger, the crew members started visiting her more often. Minho came almost every day. He talked endlessly about engines and machines and how things worked. At first, Kira did not understand most of what he said. But she listened anyway, because his voice was kind and his smile was warm. Amino. Minho said one day I could build you a new arm. Kira looked at him in surprise. What? A mechanical arm. Made of metal and wires. It would not be perfect, but it would work. You could grab things again. Maybe even lift heavy objects. Kira did not know what to say. A new arm? Was such a thing possible? Why would you do that? She asked. Minho shrugged. Because I am an engineer. I like building things. And because you need an arm, it seems simple to me. Simple. He made it sound so simple. Hannah the pilot visited next. She was a small woman with short hair and a quick smile. She brought a tablet that showed maps of the stars. Do you want to see where we are going? Hannah asked. Kira nodded eagerly. She had always loved looking at stars. Hannah showed her the ship's route. They were traveling to a planet called Nexus 7 to deliver medical supplies. After that, they would pick up machine parts from a moon station. Then to another colony. Then another. This must be lonely, Kira said. Always moving. Never staying. Hannah laughed. Lonely? No. I have my crew. They are my family. We fight sometimes. We argue. But we always take care of each other. That is what family does. Kira had not had a family since her mother died. Her uncle had taken her in, but only because Alvari tradition required it. He had never loved her. He had never even liked her. But these humans spoke of family like it was something precious. Something chosen, not forced. Even Oak, the quiet security officer, eventually came to visit. He was tall and moved without sound, like a shadow. He did not say much. He just sat in the corner and read from a small book while Kira rested. "You do not have to stay," Kira told him one day. Oak looked up from his book. "I know. Then why do you stay?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Captain asked me to make sure you have everything you need. So I stay." It was not a warm answer. But somehow, it made Kira feel cared for anyway. 3 weeks after she arrived on the ship, Kira walked into the common room for the first time. The whole crew was there, eating dinner together. They had saved her a seat at the table. Captain Doyan looked at her with his serious eyes. "I have made a decision," he said. Kira's body went stiff. This was it. He was going to tell her to leave, but instead, the captain said something she never expected. "You will stay with us. You will learn to work on the ship. You will earn your place like everyone else. And when you are old enough, you can decide if you want to leave or stay forever." Kira stared at him. She did not understand. "But why?" "I am just a broken Elvori girl. I have nothing to offer." Captain Doyan almost smiled. Almost. "You are not broken. You are crew now, and crew takes care of each other." Minho cheered. Hannah clapped her hands. Even Tay smiled his big, warm smile. And for the first time in a very long time, Kira felt tears falling from all 4 of her eyes. But these were not sad tears. These were happy ones. 6 months passed like a dream. Kira grew stronger every day. Her body filled out with proper food and rest. Her skin returned to its healthy, pale blue color. And her new arm, the mechanical one that Minho had built for her, worked better than she ever imagined. It was not beautiful. The metal was rough and the joints clicked when she moved, but she could grip things. She could lift heavy boxes. She could help with work around the ship, and that was all that mattered. Life on the horizon's edge followed a steady rhythm. Hannah flew the ship between planets. Tay loaded and unloaded cargo. Minho fixed machines when they broke. Yuna kept everyone healthy. SEOC kept everyone safe. And Captain Doyan made sure everything ran smoothly. Kira found her place among them. She started small, helping Tay organize cargo in the hold. Then she moved on to learning from Minho about engines and systems. She even spent time in the cockpit with Hannah, learning to read star maps and navigation charts. The crew never treated her like a burden. They never made her feel like she did not belong. They taught her, encouraged her, and celebrated when she learned new things. She had never felt so happy in her entire life. But happiness, Kira learned, never lasts forever. It happened at Relay Station. Omicron. The station was a massive structure floating in the middle of empty space. Ships from 100 different species came here to refuel, trade, and rest. It was crowded and noisy and full of strange smells. Captain Doyan had business with a merchant on the station. Supplies to buy. Contracts to sign. Normal, boring stuff that made Kira yawn when he explained it. "Stay close to the ship," the captain told her before leaving. "Do not wander too far. This station has many bad people." Kira nodded. She understood. She was not a foolish child anymore, but she also wanted to help. While the captain was gone, she went to the cargo bay to organize some crates that Tay had not finished with. It was simple work. Lift this box, move it there, stack it neatly. Her mechanical arm made the heavy lifting easy. She was so focused on her work that she did not hear them coming. The first warning was a cold voice behind her. Well, look what we found." Kira spun around. Her heart stopped. 3 figures stood at the entrance of the cargo bay. They were Virax, a reptilian species known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. Their scales were dark green, almost black. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dim light, and their teeth, so many teeth, filled their mouths like rows of knives. The leader was female. She was taller than the other two, with a long scar running down her face and metal claws where her real fingers should have been. "The little defective Elvari," the Verax said, her voice dripping with amusement. "Do you know how long we have been looking for you?" Kira backed away slowly. Her mind was racing. Who were these creatures? Why were they looking for her? "I do not know you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The Verax laughed. It was a horrible sound, like rocks grinding together. "Of course you do not know us. We are hunters, bounty hunters. Your trade caravan hired us to bring you back." Kira felt ice spread through her body. "Bring me back? Why?" "They threw me away." "Because you are still property," the Verax said, stepping closer. "Damaged property, yes? But property nonetheless. The Elvari Trade Confederacy has rules. Defective goods must be returned for proper disposal. Your uncle was fined for leaving you behind. Proper disposal." The words hit Kira like a punch. They were going to kill her. Not because she had done anything wrong. Simply because she was broken and Elvari law demanded it. "No," Kira whispered. "Please, I do not want to go back." The Verax tilted her head, studying Kira like a predator studying prey. "Did you think hiding among the Death Worlders would save you? Humans are frightening, yes. We all know the stories. But they are still just flesh and blood. They will not fight for something as worthless as you." Kira's back hit a cargo crate. She had nowhere else to go. The Verax reached out with her metal claws, and then a voice cut through the air like a blade. "She is not worthless." The Verax turned. Cok stood in the doorway of the cargo bay. He had appeared without making a single sound, like a ghost made solid. His face was calm. His body was relaxed. But his eyes were deadly. "She is crew," Siok said simply, "and you will not touch her." The lead Verax laughed again. "One human against 3 Verax? You are either very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both," said another voice. Tay stepped out from behind a stack of cargo containers. He cracked his knuckles slowly, deliberately. Then Minho appeared from behind another container, holding a heavy wrench like a weapon. Then Hannah emerged from a side corridor, her hand resting on a pistol at her hip. Finally, Yuna walked in from the main entrance, blocking the only exit. 5 humans, all standing, all watching. "Already?" The Verax looked around nervously. The confidence in her eyes flickered for the first time. "This is not your concern," she said, her voice slightly less steady than before. "This is Elvari business. The girl belongs to her people." "She belongs to no one," Yuna said firmly. "She is a person, not property. You do not understand our laws. I do not care about your laws." Heavy footsteps echoed through the cargo bay. The crowd of humans parted and Captain Doyen walked through. He had returned from his meeting. He must have seen the Verax enter the ship. He must have called the crew together. The captain stopped in front of the 3 hunters. He was shorter than them. Less muscular? He had no scales or claws or sharp teeth. But something about him made the Verax step back. It was his eyes, cold, steady, absolutely fearless. "I believe there has been a misunderstanding," Captain Doyen said quietly. His voice was soft, almost gentle. That made it more frightening somehow. "That child is under the protection of this crew. She has been under our protection for 6 months. She will remain under our protection for as long as she wishes." The lead Verax gathered her courage. "And if we refuse to leave without her?" Captain Doyen smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator showing its teeth. "Then I will demonstrate exactly why your species learned to fear mine." Silence filled the cargo bay, everyone. On the station had stopped what they were doing. Aliens of a dozen species watched from doorways and windows. Word had spread quickly. Humans were facing off against Verax bounty hunters. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. The Verax hunter looked at the captain, then at SEO, standing still as a statue. Then at Tae, who looked like he could crush bones with his bare hands. Then at Minho, gripping his wrench tightly. Then at Hannah, fingers brushing her weapon. Then at Yuna, blocking the exit with crossed arms. 6 humans. Not running, not backing down. Ready to fight for one small alien girl who had nothing to offer them. It made no sense. Why? The Virax asked, genuine confusion breaking through her arrogance. Why would you risk your lives for this broken creature? She is nothing. She is worthless. What could you possibly gain from protecting her? Captain Doyan looked at Kira. His hard eyes softened for just a moment. She is family, he said. 2 words. Simple. Powerful. The Virax stared at him like he had spoken in a language she could not understand. And maybe she could not. Maybe the concept of protecting someone without profit was too foreign for her mind to grasp. Finally, after a long, tense moment, the lead hunter stepped back. This is not over, she hissed. The Alvari will not forget. Neither will we, Siok said quietly. The 3 Virax turned and walked out of the cargo bay. They moved quickly, not quite running, but definitely hurrying. Their yellow eyes kept glancing back, as if expecting the humans to chase them. But the humans did not chase. They simply watched until the hunters were gone. The moment the Virax disappeared from sight, Yuna rushed to Kira's side. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Kira shook her head. She was shaking. Her whole body was trembling. But not from fear anymore. She looked up at the humans standing around her. These strange, terrifying Deathworlders who had risked everything to protect her. Why? She asked, echoing the Virax's question. Why did you do that? Captain Doyan walked over and placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. Because you are crew, he said. And crew takes care of each other. Always, no matter what. Kira finally understood. The galaxy feared humans because they were strong. Because they were persistent. Because they came from a death world and survived things that would kill any other species. But those were not the reasons to truly fear them. The real reason was this. Once humans decided someone was theirs, they would fight the entire universe to keep that person safe. And Kira was theirs now. 1 year after Kira first stepped onto the horizon's edge, Captain Doyan called a crew meeting in the common room. Everyone gathered around the long table, where they ate meals together every day. Yuna sat next to Kira, her hand resting gently on the girl's shoulder. Tae stood by the wall, his arms crossed over his massive chest. Minho fidgeted in his seat, unable to stay still as always. Hannah was drinking coffee, that strange, bitter liquid that humans seem to love so much. IHOUCA sat in the corner, quiet and watchful. Captain Doyan stood at the head of the table. His face was serious, but there was something different in his eyes today. Something warm. We have completed our last delivery contract, he said. The ship is fully fueled. Our supplies are stocked. We can go anywhere in the galaxy. Everyone nodded. This was normal. This was their life. Moving from place to place, job to job. But before we choose our next destination, the captain continued. There is something we need to discuss. He looked at Kira. 1 year ago, we found a small Ovari girl dying in the cold. We took her in. We healed her wounds. We gave her a place on this ship. Kira felt her heart's beating faster. She did not know where this was going. Over the past year, she has learned to work alongside us. She has proven herself brave and smart and hard-working. She has become... Captain paused. His voice grew thick with emotion. She has become part of this crew. Part of this family. Minho was grinning now. Yuna had tears in her eyes. Even Siok's stern face had softened. But she has never seen Earth, Captain Doyan said. Our home world. The place where humans come from. Kira's eyes went wide. Earth. She whispered. The captain nodded. We have been talking among ourselves. All of us agree. It is time to take you home. Home. The word echoed in Kira's mind. She had not had a home since she was a tiny child. The trade caravan had just been a place to exist. Veltries 9 had been a place to die. But Earth. the legendary Death World, the planet of monsters and disasters. Is it safe? Kira asked nervously. Tay laughed his rumbling laugh. Safe? No. Earth is not safe. But it is beautiful. You will love it. There are oceans, Hannah said eagerly. Huge bodies of water that stretch as far as you can see, and mountains that touch the clouds, and forests full of trees so tall you cannot see the top, and animals, Minho added. So many animals. Some are dangerous, yes. But some are small and soft and friendly. Humans keep them as companions, Pets Yuna explained. We call them pets. Maybe we can get you one. Kira looked around the table at all of them. These strange, wonderful humans who had saved her life, who had given her a family when she had none. Will I be allowed there? She asked quietly. I am not human. I am Elvari. Captain Doyan smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm, fatherly. On Earth, we have a long history of welcoming strangers, he said. People from different lands, different cultures, different backgrounds. Some humans used to think this was bad, but we learned slowly that our differences make us stronger. An alien who has been adopted by a human crew? He shook his head. You will be welcomed like a hero. Kira did not know what to say. Her throat felt tight. Her 4 silver eyes were filling with tears. Okay, she whispered. Take me home. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of traveling through hyperspace, jumping from relay to relay, crossing the vast distance between the outer colonies and the heart of human territory. Kira spent most of that time in the cockpit with Hannah. She watched the stars blur past. She studied the navigation charts. She learned the names of every system they passed through, and she learned more about humans. Hannah told her about human history, the wars they had fought, the mistakes they had made, the lessons they had learned. Humans were not perfect, Hannah admitted. They had done terrible things to each other in the past. But they had also done wonderful things. They had created art and music and stories. They had built machines that could cross the stars. They had learned to work together eventually, despite all their differences. Minho taught her how to play card games. Humans loved games, especially games that involved gambling, small snacks, or credits. Kira was not very good at first, but she learned quickly. By the end of the 2nd week, she was beating Minho half the time. Tay taught her how to cook. Human food was strange, full of flavors and spices that she had never tasted before. Some dishes burned her mouth. Others were sweet enough to make her teeth ache. But she loved learning. And she loved seeing Tai's proud smile when she made something correctly. Yuna gave her a full medical examination. Kira's arm stump was healed completely now. The mechanical arm that Minho had built was working perfectly. Yuna said she was the healthiest Elvari she had ever seen. And Seok. Seok was Seok. He did not talk much. But he was always there, always watching, always ready to protect her if she needed it. One night, Kira found a small gift on her bed. A book about Earth's animals, filled with pictures and descriptions. There was no note, but she knew it was from him. On the final day of the journey, Captain Do-yeon called Kira to the bridge. We are approaching Earth, he said. Look. Kira looked out the main window, her breath caught in her chest. Earth hung in the black void of space like a jewel. It was blue and green and white, wrapped in swirling clouds. Oceans covered most of the surface, reflecting the light of the yellow sun. Patches of brown and green land peeked through the clouds. It was the most beautiful thing Kira had ever seen. That is where humans come from, she asked in a hushed voice. Captain Do-yeon nodded. That is home. Home. The word no longer felt strange. It felt right. The ship descended through the atmosphere. Kira watched as the blue sky wrapped around them. She saw birds flying in the distance, actual living creatures moving through the air. She saw mountains and rivers and cities spreading across the land. They landed at a port near a place called Busan. It was a coastal city. According to Hannah, the ocean was nearby. When the cargo ramp opened, warm air flowed into the ship. Kira smelled salt and flowers and something else she could not identify. Life. She smelled life everywhere. Ready? Yuna asked. Taking her hand. Kira nodded. She walked down the ramp and stepped onto Earth for the first time. The ground was solid beneath her feet. The sun was warm on her skin. The wind carried sounds she had never heard before. Voices, laughter, music. Playing somewhere in the distance, people stopped to look at her. Humans of all sizes and shapes. Some had dark skin. Some had light skin. Some had hair in 100 different colors. They stared at the small blue girl with 4 silver eyes and a mechanical arm. Kira waited for them to scream, to run away, to call her a monster. Instead, a small human child walked up to her. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with round cheeks and curious eyes. "Are you from space?" the child asked. Kira nodded slowly. "Yes, I am." The child smiled brightly. "Cool. I want to go to space one day. What is it like?" And just like that, fear disappeared. Kira spent 3 weeks on Earth. She saw the ocean for the first time and cried because it was so beautiful. She walked through forests and touched trees that were hundreds of years old. She visited Captain Doyen's family and was welcomed with food and warmth, and hugs from strangers who treated her like she had always been part of their lives. She even got a pet, a small, fluffy creature called a cat. It was orange and grumpy and purred when she scratched behind its ears. She named it Sunlight because its fur reminded her of the sun. On the last day before they left Earth, Kira stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. Captain Doyen stood beside her. "Do you like it here?" he asked. Kira thought about the question carefully. She thought about the cold cargo bay on Veltries 9, where she had almost died. She thought about the trade caravan that had thrown her away. She thought about all the aliens who had called her broken and worthless. And then she thought about the humans who had found her, who had fed her, healed her, protected her, given her a family when she had none. "Yes," she said. "I like it very much." "Good." The captain placed his hand on her shoulder. "Because this is your home now? Earth. The ship. Wherever we go, you are one of us." Kira looked up at him. This gruff, stern, secretly kind man who had become like a father to her. "Thank you," she said. "For everything." Captain Doyen nodded. He was not good with emotional words, but his eyes said everything. The next morning, the horizon's edge lifted off from Earth and flew back toward the stars. Kira sat in the cockpit next to Hannah, watching her homeworld grow smaller in the distance, but she was not sad. Because home was not just a place. Home was the people who loved you, and Kira had found her people. The galaxy called humans monsters. They called them predators. They called them terrifying deathworlders who should be avoided at all costs. But Kira knew the truth. Humans were the ones who stopped when they saw a dying child. Humans were the ones who shared their food with strangers. Humans were the ones who fought against impossible odds to protect the ones they loved. And once you became theirs, they would never, ever let you go. Kira smiled as the stars blurred. Past the cockpit window, she was going. Home? No, she was already home. She had been home since the moment Yuna and Tay found her in the cold. She just had not known it yet.